I passed out one time though when I got into the room. I was so stressed out from being scared of the situation that I had put myself in because I lied. Hello you guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Laraddiji. If you're watching for the first time, you're most especially welcome to this family. You're so welcome. Did you get a chance to see that video, the last one I did on sexual assault? I applaud you if you did. But if you haven't, you may want to check it out. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you've been inspired by what you hear today. So, we're going to be talking about living in peace. This is one of the 4 sections of, my channel, so feel free to explore the other sections after this video. There's tons of information that might speak with you, so, I hope you check it out. I'll be talking about some different styles of parenting and the art of punishment today. So let's get to it. Have you ever thought about this? How can some parents communicate with their children without actually opening their mouth, and not in an abusive kind of way? Especially in African homes, I'm sure you've had an instance where this was an issue. What went through your mind? Let's imagine this. Your parents are in the bedroom and you're called upon or summoned, as I called it back then. And that fateful day was the end of your academic school year. So it goes like this. Jordan, come on in the room. We want to talk to you. Or you went to your friend's house with your mom, and they tell you, oh, you can have these snacks, and you look at your mom's face and she looks at you and you just get it. Don't take those snacks. It happens. Yeah. So what goes through your mind as you go see your parents? Before we get to the juicy stories, let's define discipline first. It is the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior, using punishments to correct disobedience. While punishment is the infliction or imposition of a penalty as retribution for an offense. We need to understand the meaning of, abuse, as well as understand the spectrum of training kids. So abuse is a cruel and treatment of a person or animal. Okay, so we got that out of the way. I lived in Nigeria for the first 14 years of my life, right? Before moving here to the States, and I love reminiscing about my childhood, especially, the discipline change that I experienced when I started living here. If you've ever lived in an African home, Nigerian one to be exact, maybe you were visiting at a time when someone was being punished, then you know what I'm talking about. It could be any one of these types. You have to stoop down, or kneel down and close your eyes. You kneel down and you close your eyes. Sometimes you raise your hands too. These are punishments back home. Or good old spanking with a ruler on your on your hand. I actually remember when we were in school, we have this assembly. American schools don't have that. At the beginning of a school day, all the students from different grades will line up, and wow, memories. Oh my gosh. So what happens is everybody's on a line. The teachers are all in the front. They're looking at you, and when they call inspection time, you put your hand out, and the teachers go around. Oh my god. And the teachers go, I'm sure they still do this, all right? This is how, you get trained. Just like military. I don't even know why. Let me not digress. So the teachers come around, you put your hand out, your uniform has to be cleaned. If it's dirty, you get spanked. Your nails have to be nice and short, not long like these horrible ones. I won't even show you guys. So you put your hand out and the teacher goes around. If your nails are very long and you didn't cut them, you didn't do your job, you get a ruler. You get pa 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 on. So next time you wouldn't do it again. I was just thinking about something just now. if military can train, when you go in the military and you get trained to, fix your bed up, wake up early and do all these things, why can't we do that for the kids in our homes? Why can't we do that? There's consequences for actions in the military. Why is that bad when you do that with your kids? Whatever. So anyway, like I was saying, you get the good old spanking with a ruler, or a special cane we call it. You get there's one you pull your ear and you kneel down and you go up. That's like exercise actually, but it hurts when you do it for a long time. There's another one. You guys use a switch. Americans call it a switch. We call it pankere egda. Usually you can just go to any tree in the house. You just cut a small branch, and you get some papa on your buttocks. Another one is, I think I've covered it all. Okay, so unfortunately back then we had lots of trees for me, so my dad would always just go into the backyard, get a branch, and you get papa. Usually I get that when he tells me to do something and I didn't do it, and I'll get some papa on my buttocks. Yeah, you know. Now I'm a good girl. I was a bad girl then. So anyway, moving on. So those were my parents' favorite, the switch. Over here though, the type of punishment that I was given was modified. When we started living here, my brother and I, instead of spanking a child, that's considered child abuse here. I don't know why, right? But we called it good old discipline back home. There were times I would be called into the room and it felt like a life sentence. It was like all the old punishments combined. I would have asked myself a gazillion questions before I finished taking the required couple of steps it would have taken me to walk from the living room to my parents' room. I passed out one time though when I got into the room. I was so stressed out from being scared of the situation that I had put myself in because I lied. The fear of the punishments I received back home was still manifesting here, even though, the style had been modified due to the country we were in. I remember vividly when I was still in middle school in Nigeria. We called it elementary school. You call it elementary school here. I got spanked for spending the money someone gave me instead of waiting to tell my parents about it. These are some of the questions I asked myself. Some questions after remembering those youthful times of my life, and some punishments I've had, and I hope I can get some insight from you guys as well. So when I'm recording living in peace, I usually ask 10 questions. So for parenting and punishment, these are my 10 questions. If you guys have any questions, you can ask them also in the comment section. So number 1, is this fear factor? You've made bad decisions already before it's pointed out. Like that time I lied when I was in the school library, when actually I was at the movies with a guy and my parents wanted to pick me up at the school library. I mean, I was already caught. Like, forget it. There's no way I could come out of this. All right. First, I said I was in the library, but actually, I'm 30 minutes away from the library at the movies. And my parents are like, we're coming to pick you up at the library. What kind of lie can you concoct to come out of that one? I was like, actually, I'm not in the library. I'm on my way home. Hey, you should see me. I ran out of that movie house and I was running to try and catch them before they got home. So anyway, I got caught. Bad story. So the realization of being caught in that lie already, I've already punished myself. So from that, should I really be punished some more? Really? You think so? The second question, why should I be scared in my own house? Sometimes you do something bad, you expect your consequences. So when you've done something wrong, you should expect the consequences. They're usually not good. That's why they're called consequences. They're not fun. So the third question was, what have I done? Or what have I not done? You know, you start questioning yourself. The dilemma of every child that is called upon. Usually if you have a clean bill of, you know, if you have a clean mind, then you shouldn't question yourself. But most of the time, we do the opposite of what our parents say. So I keep asking myself, you know, maybe I've done something, or maybe I haven't done, you know, what I was supposed to do. Um, you know, let's say you were supposed to take out the garbage and you didn't take it out on time, and then your parents call you. Of course, you're going to be scared, like, oh shoot, I forgot to do this, and now they're calling me in the room. The room. But if you had done that, then you'd be confident, you know, that maybe they're calling you to get your reward. You know, oh, good guy, you know, good girl, you took out the garbage. Here's your reward. Number 4, were you talking too loud? You know, maybe did I forget to do something? You know, I start questioning myself. I start questioning my actions. You know, after a while, it started giving me intuition, you know, to do some things before I was told, you know, so that I can enjoy myself at the end of the day. Okay. The 5th one, what types of punishments have you been dished, and which ones have you dished out? Okay. Now that I have kids, I try not to dish out any punishment, you know, because I know how it is. But trust me, they need discipline. All right. And I call it guided punishment. They need to understand that there's consequences for their actions. Otherwise, there'll be that child that's running around in a shopping, you know, in a shopping mall, running around, you know, crying hell on earth. And then you're looking at them like, can't you control your kids? Mm-hmm. So, you know, when I dish it out, you know, some occasional taps here and there, and then I follow up with a rationale why they shouldn't do what they're doing. And I give them a hug, and then I talk with them. You know, do you understand why you did this? Do you understand why this happened? You know, and they understand. Now they go, oh, mommy, look, he's misbehaving. You're gonna get timeout. Trust me, these kids know. They know what's going on. So you need to lay the foundation, and once you've laid the foundation, they will follow it. The 6th one, time out anyone. Does it really work? Well, Americans will say for 3-year-old you can do 3 minutes of timeout. What I do usually is I tell them to face the wall, no talking, no playing. In the end, they just laugh at me. Maybe I need discipline. I'm still learning this concept, but back home, will that work? Yeah, right. We believe as Christians, actually, and as the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child. We believe, okay, when done correctly, you know, that you need to beat that disobedient spirit out of that child. When done correctly, discipline ends up being a good thing for the child in the end. Number 7, take away all the things that give me pleasure for an amount of time. Will that work? I can only speak for myself in this case, but most of the time, you know, we didn't have toys growing up, or games or things of that nature. What we had was books. Yeah, go up to your room and read your book. That's your punishment. So they wouldn't take your books away. The only thing will probably be watching TV. That's the only thing, you know. Go to your room, no more TV for you for the rest of the day. That's the most punishment that you would probably get. Number 8, what are the long-term consequences of some punishments? This one I didn't even research. I think maybe anxiety, low self-esteem, confidence, lack of trust. But I will tell you this honestly. If you left your children to do what they wanted to do most of the time, you know, then the list that I just said will be the list of their worries. I'm sure people in jail, you know, now would wish someone spoke with them, you know, earnestly and honestly when they were younger. You know, maybe they did, but they didn't listen. But now they're in jail. Number 9, what type of discipline or punishment really gets you to behave when you were a kid? Punishment when done without wisdom and understanding, I call it, you know, makes you afraid of the world. I remember when I attended primary school, so that's like equivalent of middle school here, right? If we get to school after a certain time, there will be a teacher or even the principal herself at the gate. As you enter, you'll be getting some strokes of the cane. Yes. I felt so bad for my little brother though at the time, because we would have walked a long way just to get to the school, and then on top of that, get punished before the start of the school day. You know, there would have been a different, I think there would have been a different understanding and outcome if they had asked where we lived and how they could have possibly, helped us to get to school on time and safely. What happened eventually was that we ended up using our school pocket money meant for transportation, meant for food. We will use it for transportation instead, so as to get to school on time. The only thing is, if we had to get to school earlier, we would have to leave home in the dark, and that's not safe because we lived very far. So to behave, we just found other solutions or alternatives to not being punished, even if it meant, sacrificing something. Okay. Number 10. What are you thinking of when you have been punished or disciplined, for doing something wrong? It took me a while to actually understand this one. For instance, let's say I got punished for not doing what I was told to do. For a second, I would be very angry with my mom or my dad, or my teacher, because they punished me. But then I thought deeply about it. I was actually getting mad at myself for putting myself in that situation. So in the end, I put myself in that position, not anybody else. If I had done what I was told to do in the beginning, I could have avoided the consequence. One thing I sometimes don't like hearing, especially from watching American life here, is that they'll tell the kids it's not their fault about something that they actually caused. I mean, lying to them, it's not your fault. Or go to your room and think about what you've done. I was really punished, when I moved here many years ago, but I won't lie. During my college years, I started misbehaving, staying out late, hanging out with my school friends. Well, basically trying to find myself and find my way in this life. But since a lie is a lie, whether big or small, I was caught in one day. All I heard was, "Lara, come here." My dad called me into his room. My mom was there too, and oh my goodness, I almost peed my pants that day. It's not like he was going to, spank me. I was a grown lady by this time. But it was just what was the fear of what I had done that overwhelmed me, you know. That fear that Adam had in the Bible in the beginning when he ate the forbidden fruits with Eve and forgot how to answer a simple geographical question. When they knew, what they had done, they weren't worthy to be in God's presence. That's kind of how I felt that day, you know. God said, "Adam, Adam, where are you?" But instead he said, "I am naked." He could have said, I'm hiding. He could have said, "I'm in the bush." But instead, the lie clouded his judgment. So I got to researching, and I'm sure you've come across or heard of these types of parenting styles before. I got this ones from verywell.com, and there's 4 different types of parenting: authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and uninvolved parenting. My parents were definitely authoritative parents. My dad mostly, I think my mom is more of a permissive parent, but there's a balance. My dad believes strongly in the fact that discipline is very important in a child's life, and more so when kids are very young and are starting to know what's right and wrong, so that when they are older, they will be able to make better choices in life. The advantages of having an authoritative parent is that the children, become more independent. They will have a high self-esteem and low likelihood to be physically aggressive, and also will have an overall good mental health. As I got older, I had a better understanding of why my parents were very strict back then. The discipline I was exposed to has actually helped in shaping me into becoming who I am today, as a daughter, as a sister, as a wife, as a mother, as an in-law, as an aunt, and the woman I am today, basically. America will say don't abuse your children. There's discipline and then there's abuse. What happened in California? Remember what happened in California with the children, with the couple that had 13 children? That's flat out child abuse. Being changed to the bed, being fed little to no food. And you can just imagine the consequences of what that experience will have on, the children's lives for the rest of their lives. I can just imagine. I have 3 children now, but when it was just the twins, it was very challenging. Talk less of having 13 kids. I think having more than 4 or 5 children is child abuse. I don't think so. I'm kidding. Um, Unless there's documented and constant assistance, trust me, raising kids can change your life mentally. I'm not being over dramatic, trust me. Recently, I have questioned and talked to my parents about their choice of discipline when my siblings and I were growing up and how it has affected me over time. I realized as I got older that the physical discipline I got when I was younger made me less open and kind of an introvert to an extent. I had low self-esteem and I lacked, self-confidence to a point. I believe moderate acne also had a role actually to my confidence. However, I overcompensated for a lot of my weaknesses. Now that I have kids, I'm very conscious on how I discipline my kids because they will tell me about it in the future, when they grow up. Hopefully, they have positive comments about how I've, my husband and I have trained them. Nobody likes to be punished or disciplined, but at the end of the day, it's for your own good. Let us remember that at the end of the day, discipline and listening to our children is very important to our kids' mental well-being. How we dish out discipline requires a lot of wisdom. We also need to understand that imposing the old ways of living in this new era we are living in will not work. Could it work? All right. The times have changed, and what we were exposed to when we were growing up is totally different from today. So let us educate ourselves and discipline our children accordingly. Let us respect ourselves as parents so that we don't lose our rights over our children. Let's stop giving ourselves high blood pressure for no reason. God willing, we are on this earth for an average of 75 to 80 years. Let's not waste any of that precious time on things that don't help our children grow positively in some way. You have a decision to make, like I always say. If not now, maybe later. The ball is in your court. Thank you very much for staying with me to the end. I know this one is kind of a long one. I hope you learned a lot today. And that's all for now, you guys. If you're new to this channel, once again, my name is Laraddiji. Ask questions if you have any. You can also leave a comment as well. You can also give this video a thumbs up. To get notified of newly posted videos, please don't wait. Just do it now. I'm waiting. Click. You did it? You did it? Subscribe now. Yeah. The next video will be about products I love using for my kids. This video will save you a lot of money. Maybe you're planning to have your baby, or you want to buy a gift for an expecting couple, and so on. Do check out my suggested videos in the description box below. I'm hoping to read from you beautiful people very soon. Don't forget to love your neighbor as yourself. I keep saying that. That's the #1 rule. Remember to rest in peace. We all need to be living in peace. Stay blessed. From head to toe, she wear designer. Original, babe, no made in China.